How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and Auto Camp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We are so excited to bring you this show.
Our podcast is all about unraveling all of your favorite mysteries from the Assassin's Creed games. Each episode will be talking about a different topic in the Assassin's Creed universe. From Pieces of Eden, solar flares, and the Isu, to the Hidden Ones, the Order of Ancients, and of course, the Animus, we will seek to uncover it all.
So join us and maybe even take a leap of faith.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Shelby. You also know me as She-Cup, and we are here with another episode of the Lorecast. But before we dive into our topic for the day, I'm going to let my co-host introduce himself.
Yeah, so I am Austin, also known as Teacup, and we are here with another character deep dive.
That's right. So, today's character deep dive is on Arno Dorian, who comes from Unity. I don't know much about him other than the fact that he comes from Unity and is French. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. So yeah, as we know, Arno Dorian is the main protagonist for Assassin's Creed Unity, living during the French Revolution. If you haven't played Unity, I highly recommend it. It's still buggy all these years later, almost 10 years later. It's a good game. If you don't care about the multiplayer, it's a good story and it's a good system and it runs okay. It's still buggy, but not as game breaking as it wants to be. So if you kind of ignored it when it came out because of all the bugs associated with its launch, it's definitely worth a revisit to that. It's a good historical story, and even if the modern day story leaves some stuff to be desired. But we're getting into Arno, so if you haven't played that and want to, this might be an episode to skip before and go play Unity and then come back, as there might be minor spoilers, but I'm trying to stay away from major spoiler points. And so let's get into it. So Arno was born in 1768. to a minor noble, the minor noble Dorian family, who is just a minor noble in France, which minor noble means that like they're not like a duke or like these nobles who would be in line to inherit something. It just means that they're related to someone, so they have some estates. That's what minor noble family means.
And like not really that they're even part of the aristocracy, just that they like have a title and have land too. Like they would not be invited to court all the time by the king.
No. And like they wouldn't have that much power or influence. Maybe in like their estate that they would do. The king is not coming to dine with the Dorian family.
They're like they're like the lowest of the titled folk.
Yes, which means that like Charles Dorian, his father, is probably some like fourth cousin to like a random sixth cousin of the brother of the prince or something like that.
Right.
So his father is an assassin named Charles Dorian, and his mother's name was Marie. So this was a fun fact that I really wanted to kind of look up. But 10 of the 11 Assassin's Creed protagonists, and just if you're counting, I counted Syndicate, Odyssey, and Valhalla as one protagonist.
How are you counting Syndicate, Odyssey, and Valhalla as one protagonist?
They each only have, and Origins, they each only have one protagonist, even though there are multiple that you can play.
Okay, I got you. I thought you were saying they all had the same protagonist, and I was like, they definitely don't. Is this April Fool's?
No, they do not. So 10 of the 11 of them have named mothers. Typically in video game storytelling, they like to name the father, but they just say, oh, and married to an unknown noble woman.
But it's also like Desmond's mom not being named. Like, I guess it's not super vital to the plot for Shay's mother to be unnamed, but for Desmond's, it kind of is.
Yeah. So, like you said, Shay Cormac is the one who doesn't have a named mother. So the rest of them do. Obviously, like Ezio, we meet a lot of mothers. We meet Connor's mother. We meet Ezio's mother. We obviously meet Cassandra's mother. Like, we meet a lot of mothers. So Arno is obviously, in his noble upbringing, is very well educated. This probably makes him the most well-read assassin's protagonist in the colonial period. Now, I'm saying in the colonial period. That means his competition is Shay, Connor, and Edward.
So not much of a competition, to be frank.
No.
When it comes to reading.
Like, he often quotes famous authors or famous stories when making his points. And so we do see that. Sadly, at a very young age, his mother would abandon the family, leaving his father Charles to raise Arno alone. Which makes me wonder, like, I know it's not like unheard of, but it is, I would say, a little uncommon for the mother to be the one to abandon the family in this time period.
I mean, I agree with that. And I even think it's still a little uncommon, maybe not uncommon, but it's less common today still for the woman, the mother, to be the one that abandons the family. I'm not saying it doesn't happen or it didn't happen, but I do agree with you that I think it's less common than a man abandoning his family. I mean, that the man abandoning his family is a trope that's been around for forever and for a reason.
So Charles would then have to take Arno with him on various missions and various things around both North Africa and Europe. So he's well-traveled as well. Now, we have plenty of well-traveled assassins. They all travel very much. So it really begins in Arno's life. That tragedy begins very early. In 1776, which would make him 8 years old, Charles Dorian is assassinated by Shay Cormac in the Palace of Versailles as he attends a meeting. Before he dies, he gives Arno a pocket watch, which becomes a very, very like symbolic thing as the game progresses. Arno is very attached to this pocket watch, understandably. Arno is not present for the assassination of his father because his father tells him to stay And he doesn't, because this is also where he meets Elise de la Serre. Elise basically convinces him to come play hide and seek with her as they run around the Palace of Versailles. So Arno is not staying where he is supposed to be. He comes back to basically find out that he's really late. He finds his father assassinated.
So my question here, and this is very heartbreaking, of course, but my question here is, how old is he here when his father is assassinated? Because in some ways it's like, oh, he's given a pocket watch, like he cherishes it. That to me makes him sound like older, like teenage years. But then like he's playing hide and seek with a girl, to me sounds very much elementary school. So I'm just kind of wondering what the age is.
He's 8.
Okay, maybe we'll get into this later. But this is when he meets Elise.
Yes. Okay. And this is the quote from a letter that Arno writes to his father in 1777. So a year after that. It says, "I am so sorry, Papa. I know I ran away and was late. If I hadn't been, maybe you would not be dead. I broke the pocket watch. I'm sorry for that too. I keep it with me all the time and it makes me think of you." So obviously this is a big point in Arno's story. Like this would be for any child or anything like that. To not only did his mother abandon him, but now at a very young age, he finds himself orphaned with no family, no parent.
And not only that, but he feels like he's to blame for his father's death.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because in his child mind, which is understandable, he didn't do what he was supposed to. And so in his version, his childlike version of morality, because he broke the rules, this bad thing happened.
Right. But when in reality, if he had been there, he probably would have been killed as well.
So at the scene of his father's death, Elise informs her father, Francois de la Serre, of Arno's name. And Francois reaches out to Arno and gets him away from the scene, and then ends up taking in Arno, the young assassin. And so he goes to live with the de la Serres as his foster family. And so that's really like his early life and what we know. I mean, it's very, very storytelling where the story opens with a single story from their childhood before jumping several years to the person as an adulthood. Like a lot of times they do this to like, this is the single moment that we want you to continually look through this character through the lens of this. And it's serving the same purpose here. So in the wake of the French Revolution, Francois de la Serre is killed by a coup attempt in the Templar Order. It is here that it is revealed that Arno that the de la Serres are Templars and that his father was an assassin. And so it's another point in here to note that it's very similar and reminiscent of AC2 when Ezio is trying to deliver the papers that prove his father's innocence. And obviously there's a betrayal and it doesn't get there in time and Ezio's family is killed as a result. Well, Arno has a similar courier mission that he has to do before this, which was to deliver a letter to Francois that would explain the attempt on his life was going to happen. However, because Arno finds out that Elise is there, he doesn't actually deliver the letter in person to Francois. And so Francois never sees it. So once again, Arno blames himself for the death of a father figure.
This sounds like a big theme in his life.
Yes. And so Arno is falsely accused of Francois' murder because he's present at the scene when it happens, and he is imprisoned. And then it is there where he meets the assassins and joins the assassins. The rest of the game is him attempting to kill and stop and avenge Francois' murder, bring them to justice. In this time, Arno meets various French nobility and historical figures, Robespierre, Lafayette, Napoleon, all of these different people. He is impressed by Napoleon, but he's very wary of Napoleon, as in he sees him as like, this guy might work with me, but he never really is a true ally. But the two do develop a correspondence and friendship a little bit in there. And this is a little fact, but we're not going to unpack it. But Unity is also the second of only 3 games to feature a romance central to the main story of the game, because Arno is obviously in love with Elise and they have a relationship of some sort. Sadly, this ends tragically, but AC Unity is one of 3 games. And I'll talk about later my criteria for this, because I know those who are listening and probably Shelby are like, there are lots of games that have romance in them, but this very central to the main story is a big deal. And in my opinion, there are only 3 games that do this. But we'll talk more about that in the second half of the episode. Arno obviously succeeds in his mission. I don't think we've had a Assassin's Creed game where they don't succeed in their mission. They might not be happy about it, but they almost always succeed in the mission that's before them. The only one you could probably say is Connor, because his mission is to protect his people and their land, and that doesn't happen. Anyway, through this, after the death of Elise, Arno is most notably depressed and again blames himself because he wasn't able to protect her. He leaves the Brotherhood for a while. He says, I'm done. You can do whatever you want. I'm tired of this. It's important to note that during this time, the Brotherhood has a mentor, but it's run by a council, and no assassin can come to a mission without the council's approval. And Arno does a lot of missions without the council's approval, and they're constantly at odds. And after the death of Elise, he's basically just like, fuck you all. I'm done. I'm done with your idealism. I'm done with all of this. I'm done with the assassins. And he walks out.
So does this happen in game?
Yes. And so he's also exiled a little bit from the assassins because he causes a big deal and acts without the council's authority. And so he's exiled from the assassins, but then he doesn't rejoin after like, hey, it's kind of like an Ahsoka Tano situation where they're like, hey, like you can come back because, you know, we realized that not that we were wrong, but this was a learning opportunity for you. So come back. And he's basically gives them the middle finger. And so, but he does return after several years away, after some run-ins with Napoleon and other different cults and different things like this. He would save Paris several times. Most notably by an effort of the Templars to infiltrate the Council of 500. Now, if you don't know your French history, the Council of 500 is one of the legislature systems that they enact while they're during the French Revolution and after. This is after the Reign of Terror. This is basically similar to the House of Commons or the House of Representatives in the United States. Like this is what is considered like the lower house or whatever. I know that doesn't always mean like less than or less power, but that it's similar to that. So the House of Commons, the House of Representatives, very similar to that. They infiltrate that and are attempting to establish a second reign of terror, which is terrifying, pun intended, in and of itself. But for these efforts, Arno is granted the rank of Master Assassin in stopping this. And that's really his life that we know of. So I think now would be a good time to kind of go to the mid-break before we talk about his personality, the romance, and then why we love or hate Arno.
Okay, sure.
Want to live better?
We've got a lot of work to do.
Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live Better Now.
I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek.
Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live Better Now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
It's showtime.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
Ma cos'è? Shoot! Shoot the flying demon!
I'm sure you can put this to better use than I can.
Oh, what's this, Greenie? Assassin Christmas.
I needs to be oiled before I goes to the games.
Well, I would have been happy to assist if you were in any state to compete.
I likes to be oiled.
Well, that's obvious.
Welcome to the middle of the show. This is where we talk about all the things that have to do with the lore cast and not the lore of Assassin's Creed. So the first thing that we always do is thank all of our awesome, wonderful patrons. We thank you so much. You truly help us keep making the show, and we couldn't do it without you. If you would like to join the Patreon, you can join us by visiting patreon.com/ACLorecast. There are a bunch of different tiers, as low as $5 all the way up to $100. And you can get all kinds of different benefits, from merch to coming on the show to giving us topic ideas. So there's all kinds of different ways you can support us there. And we always shout out our mentor tier assassin, Voss. Thank you so much for being a patron. And then if you can't support us financially, the next best way to support us is by leaving a rating or a review. And if you do leave us a comment, a review, whatever, wherever, we will read it out on the show, at least if it has something nice to say. And today's comes from Chasing Shadows on Spotify, who commented on our very first episode and said, very informative. I love it. Thank you so much for giving us that awesome review. And then last but certainly not least is you should join our Discord server. You know, with the new Shadows news, there is a lot of activity, a lot of people talking about Assassin's Creed, a lot of people chatting about all kinds of stuff, sharing memes. So if you want to find some friends who also like Assassin's Creed, the Discord is the best place to do so. So I think, Austin, that's all we've got for the middle of the show, unless you have anything you want to add.
No, I don't think so. So let's get back into it.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Cadillac. Cadillac certified service technicians are factory trained to fit your vehicle with the tires specifically developed for it. And with our tire price match guarantee, you get the best fit for the best deal. Let us do the work. Available on select eligible tire brands at participating dealers only. Offer ends 12/31/2025. Terms apply. See dealer for complete details. Visit Cadillac.com/service to learn more.
Malaka.
A party? I wasn't invited. Neither were the horses. I'm sure she just misplaced my invitation. Stuck.
See if you can find something to pry it open. Honor? What are you up to? No, don't do that. There's no way of knowing what's on the other side.
So we've talked about his involvement, obviously, in Assassin's Creed Unity and everything in his early life. But now I want to talk about his personality overall. So in his early life, when we first meet him as an adult, Arno is witty and charismatic. but also kind of no nonsense. Like he wants to talk about the thing he wants to talk about. He doesn't want to dilly-dally. Very similar to young Ezio when we meet Ezio, except Ezio is a little more liberal with the nonsense.
I was going to say fun-loving.
Yes, Ezio is more fun-loving than Arno is. But he does have a sharp sense of humor. He falls back on it when he feels emotionally vulnerable with his humor. We see a lot of this in his recruitment with the assassins. He was very impulsive, but honestly, all of our protagonists are impulsive. They're rushing into action without reason, a flaw that the members of the Assassin's Council tend to frequently point out. But it would not be an Assassin's Creed game if there wasn't a mentor telling the protagonist, hey, you're being too rash. As a newcomer to the Assassins, he was prone to be rather questioning. He does not take ideals at their face value, questioning the typical approach to how they do things, questioning age-old beliefs. He was aided in the field by his stealthy and ruthless nature. He does at this time become the assassin. He becomes to mature and he takes his life more seriously. One thing about Arno in his personality is up until the end, he doesn't really take the assassin's lifestyle very seriously. It is more that he sees the assassins as a means to an end. He wants to avenge Francois de la Serre's murder, and he sees the assassins as a means to an end to do that. So early on, he does not really care about stopping the Templars. He cares about bringing Francois's murderers to justice. And then, obviously, when he becomes a master assassin, he becomes a lot wiser, a lot more committed to the assassin's cause to fight the Templars. But one of the things that he tries to implement and really push as a master assassin is that an idea or an ideal or anything like that, if pushed too far, would be detrimental to the person and those around him or her or whoever. And this idea comes out with Arno that even the assassin's ideology pushed too far is harmful to humanity.
Well, and I do think that we've seen that, right? We've seen that with William, especially. I don't mean to always be hating on William, but we've seen that, and not just him, but in other assassins too. So I definitely think that is a respectable position. I guess I'm also curious, and maybe we don't know the answer to this question, but I'm curious, what's the time frame here? Like you said that Arno steps away from the assassins and then he comes back and he helps Paris. He helps the city of Paris and prevents, plots to infiltrate councils and the legislature and, all this stuff. So I'm curious. And then he obviously, as you've just said, becomes master assassin. So I'm curious, how long is he away? When does he come back? How long does it take him to become a master assassin? Just, maybe some of that kind of stuff.
He is a master assassin in 1794. So that happens at the end of the game. So the entire game takes place over 28 years. Well, his whole life. He becomes an master assassin at 28.
That seems really young to me.
Yeah. That is pretty young, but most of our assassins are young.
Yeah, and I guess that's true and a lot of them come to the assassins very, very young or in childhood. So I guess that does make sense. If you become an assassin at the age of 8, by the time you're 30, you've already been in for over 20 years. So I guess that makes sense.
Yes. The French legislature and Elise's death happen in the same year.
Okay, so some of those things that we talked about earlier happen really before he takes a break from the assassins.
Yes. He's not gone from the assassins that long, but it is several months. So now let's talk about this game. And what I kind of teased in the first half is that the romance of this game, which I think is one of its strongest points, storytelling wise. So like I said earlier, Unity is one of 3 games to feature a romance as the main part of the story. So I want to go over my criteria for how this works out. The romance must be central to the story. It should have an effect on the outcome of the story. It must be featured in memories or missions or main missions of the game. Meaning that it's not just unlocked through side quests. It is through main mission stories that we see the romance begin and develop and come to fruition. For this reason, AC Valhalla and Odyssey are disqualified. Just because most of their romance options are not crucial and not part of the main stories of the game. You have a choice to romance people, but you can romance no one, and the story ends up the same. I could see an argument being made for Legacy of the First Blade. However, due to how Odyssey was set up, I do not consider the romance part of that story to be canon. It's more of a canon procreation, because romance is not a required part for that story to happen. You do not have to be in love with Natakis or I can't even remember Alexius's name, counterpart of what it is. And so you don't have to be in love with them for the child to be born. So that's why it doesn't count in my book. Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood are also disqualified as their romance does not take part in the main story, and it's not necessary to complete the game, nor does it affect the outcome of the story. Like the Christina missions, you don't have to do them to beat the game. You don't have to do them to beat the story. Even though they are part of Ezio's life, it's not featured as a main part of the game.
Hold on. I have an argument.
Okay.
So, your rules are it has to be central to the story, it has to have an effect on the outcome of the story, and it has to be featured in memories or missions. I think you could add Assassin's Creed 3 to the list. Not because Connor has a relationship with anyone, but because of Haytham and Kyo, Connor's mom. Because number one, it's pretty central to the story. I mean, you even in number 3, it does you play as Haytham when you meet her. And then number 2, your list is it should have an effect on the outcome. Well, it does because Connor exists. So I think you could include that one, even though they don't really have like a happy lifelong relationship or anything. But just to add to your list.
Okay, I will concede Haytham and Kyo. I will concede that because it is a main part of the game. And like, it's hard to that one's hard for me because it's hard to remember that is like a relationship and that like it's not just a moment of passion, but like you have to remember that they did have interactions after that. And according to Haytham's journals, he did care for her.
Exactly.
I will concede there are 4 games. There you go. So the 3 games that I had said was obviously one with one of the GOAT couples of the series, which is Assassin's Creed Revelations with Ezio and Sophia. Great relationship. And then Assassin's Creed Unity with Arno and Elise. And of course, the mother and father of the Assassin's Creed, Bayek and Aya in Assassin's Creed Origins. That being said, and I might make Shelby mad with this, and she hasn't played the game, so she can't really argue that much with me. But I think AC Unity does this the best.
No, that doesn't make me mad at all. And I don't know if you're saying that that's going to make me mad because I love Ezio and Sophia or because I love Bayek. But it definitely doesn't make me mad on Bayek's case because I think he deserves better than Aya. No offense, like to the Aya stands out there. I love her, but their relationship I think is unhealthy. So I don't know how you intended that, but I'm just here to listen and learn.
I just want to unpack this romance because there are, and Shelby can help me with this because she reads a lot more romance than I do. But there are different romance tropes that things kind of fit in. I believe Arno and Elise fit into this star-crossed, tragic star-crossed lovers trope. It's very, very Romeo and Juliet. Very this idea of these two people from very opposing viewpoints who find each other and fall in love. A lot of times when we get these situations, these romances are heavy one-sided. Obviously, Ezio and Sophia are very reciprocal of each other. They're both and I think that deals with the age in which they meet each other. They're both much older than the rest of them are when they meet their spouse or their person, and they're not really messing around. They are at a stage of life where they're like, we're done messing around. we're done playing games, we're just going to be honest with each other and happy with each other. Arno and Elise have this like childhood love story that starts when he's like 8 years old. And it really develops. I didn't really pick up a lot on it when I played Assassin's Creed Unity the first time, but when I recently just replayed it, probably back in like early this year or late last year, I can't remember exactly, but I did replay it recently. Shelby can attest. I found myself really enjoying the romantic storyline associated with it. I thought it was really well done. I found myself caring for Elise a lot more than I did the first time around, and actually being sad at the events. And that like Elise and Arno actually make each other better, which is really saying something for them. One being a basically cradle to grave Templar, and the other being an assassin. And the thing about it is that Arno and Elise are never really under the impression that either of them can be anything but what they are. Like Arno is never at the point where he's like, Elise, you have to stop being a Templar. And Elise is never like, no, you can't stop being an assassin. She'll criticize him and being like, oh, your assassin ideology is holding you back. It's really well done. It's a really good story. Shelby, I'm excited for you to play it and experience it. 2024 might be a much more chaotic game year than 2023 was, at least for us.
Yeah, I'm okay. Let me back up. Yes, I will come back to Assassin's Creed. I definitely will. I'm also just like, I honestly haven't played a lot of video games recently. I'm still playing Baldur's Gate a little bit, and then I restarted a run of Dragon Age Origins, but truly like I'm not even playing regularly just because I'm busy in other areas of the life. So that's the first thing. But secondly, this year is going to be crazy. I just have the gut feeling that Dragon Age Dreadwolf, Assassin's Creed Shadows, and Star Wars Outlaws are all going to come out the same week or two, which is going to make our lives hell because we have podcasts in all of those franchises. So, that is just really stressful, frankly, but it is what it is, and it's not a big deal. We're just going to be busy, but because of that, I mean, I definitely will come back to playing Assassin's Creed. It just might be a while. But back to Arno and Elise, you asked me earlier, like you read a lot of romance, like what are some romance tropes? And I think that Arno and Elise fall into a lot of different tropes. Like obviously, as you've said, star-crossed lovers, but also like enemies to lovers because they're on, opposite sides of this war almost. Also friends to lovers because they're friends when they're kids. And, obviously they develop feelings as they get older, but then also, forbidden love, like something that's prohibited by societal norms. Because again, one is a Templar and one is an assassin. And then also I think lastly is like the tragic trope. Their story is, I don't know all the details because again, I haven't played the game, but I very much feel like it ends in tragedy. I think there's a lot of romance tropes there. Usually romance novels like pick one or two, and I feel like this has like all of them. So there's that.
Yeah, and then just one little criticism that I have after thinking about this. Assassin's Creed, in recent years at least, in this, especially this area, when we look at Black Flag, when we look at Assassin's Creed 3, when we look at Unity, they kind of follow this trope of we have this strong, independent woman, let's kill her off. Kyo dies in Assassin's Creed 3. Obviously, Mary Reed, James Kidd dies in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and then Elise in Assassin's Creed Unity. And so, like, is this a fair criticism to say, like, they're leaning into this, they're falling into the same trope of, like, oh, if you have a strong woman, she either has to settle down and pick the domestic life, or she has to die.
Does David Gator write for Assassin's Creed?
I would be surprised if he dabbled a little bit.
That was probably rude of me, but all of his female characters have a tendency to die off. So I think this is a fair criticism. However, I feel like there are enough female characters in other parts of Assassin's Creed that don't meet this fate, so that it's not like, oh, every female character in Assassin's Creed ends up this way. I don't at all feel that way. But it is a common trope, not just in Assassin's Creed, but in all of our media. So I do think that's unfortunate. But I don't feel like Assassin's Creed, kills off more women than any other franchise does.
I think I would agree with that. I just think it's worth mentioning since this does kind of fall into that trope as well a little bit. But I think that at least with Assassin's Creed Unity, it more falls in that trope because it is trying to fall in the tragic love story trope.
Mm-hmm.
A question for me, which is, why do you love or hate Arno? But I'm going to turn it on this phrase since you haven't played the game, and I want to start with that. What about Arno excites you for his character and his story?
I think one of the things that makes me interested in him is the fact that when he is like at his worst, is basically says like, I cannot serve the assassins right now. Like, I need to step away. And I think a lot of the assassins we've met and seen probably should have done that. And I think some of them do that in perhaps less formal ways, but that makes me respect and appreciate him. And I've only ever really heard negative things about Unity. So I simultaneously don't know much about Arno, and what little I do know has been negative. So to me, I'm keeping an open mind because people want to be mad about games, as we've discussed in the past couple weeks. But yeah, no, it sounds like he's a really tragic character and a really sad character. So I like that in a video game, but I'm keeping an open mind is probably where I land.
Is that why Bayek is your favorite character?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, Ezio too, right? Like, even though Ezio has this very fulfilling life, it is also filled with a lot of tragedy in it. But I also think tragedy makes a good character. Like, when you play D&D and you create a character, what's their backstory? Their parents are dead. Their siblings are dead. Their entire family is dead, right? Like, that is a trope for a reason, because it makes a compelling story. Because when you hear that, you're like, oh, well, what happened? Why did your parents die? How did you get here? How has that affected you? You've got all kinds of follow-up questions.
I agree with that. I didn't love Arno when I first played Unity. I had a lot of issues with Unity just because, like, Black Flag was its own new thing, and it was a breath of fresh air, and it followed up on like some of the things that happened after Desmond's death, and it caught that interest. Unity was really the first game that launched a new series, like, and a new focus of the assassins, and like a change, and it introduced a new system, and it was much more updated and modern, less of the like waiting for someone to attack and countering. That combat system was out the window. And so there was a lot of that jar that didn't really keep me up with Arno's personality, not to mention that like he very easily, like when the beginning, you look at him, like he's even like, if you're listening at home right now, go and look up a picture of Arno when you first meet him in his non-Assassin's Creed outfit. And it's like almost verbatim a copy and paste of Ezio's introductory outfit as well. And so there was a lot of like, oh, we're just like trying to rehash Ezio. And so I see all those critiques, but going at this all these years, I'm playing it again this past year. Arno really is different than Ezio in a lot of ways. As Shelby said, he is not as fun-loving as Ezio. He's much more like focused. And I would actually say he's much more reckless than Ezio, which is really saying something. But he is much more reckless. He is willing to risk any and everyone for his goal. And I like that in a character, that he is a good person who makes bad choices. And I think that is a good storytelling device. And I really enjoyed Arno this time around. And so I understand all the Arno stands out there. He wouldn't rank in like my top 5 favorite assassins, but he's definitely a good one. He'd probably rank somewhere in like the 8 to 9 range. So not the worst, not the best, like really mid-tier.
We have to do another rankings list because I want to know who your lowest is for sure.
Okay, it's Ezio.
I think the fandom will collectively come and kill you.
Yes, for legal purposes, that was a joke, not an actual ranking. But that's all I have. We're kind of out of time for this episode, so let's wrap it up.
All right. Well, thanks again, as always, for doing the research. I think this is a really interesting one. It's always fun to me when we do character deep dives on characters from games I haven't yet played. So this was a good one. So thank you for doing the research. And thank you for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at AC Lorecast.
If you have any lore questions or topics to unpack, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet. You can also support us financially through our Patreon. Find us on patreon.com/Assassin's Creed Lorecast. The Assassin's Creed Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Network. For more information about the Robots Radio Network, join the Discord server via the link in our episode's description.
If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, and join the Patreon. And if you enjoyed our intro and outro music, make sure you give a big thank you to Pipeman Studios. Thank you, Pipeman. Thanks again for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. And always remember, Assassins, stay in the shadows to serve the light.
Do you love Dragon Age? Have you always wanted to learn more about its vast world and detailed lore? Are you still attached to your hero of Ferelden, even a decade after Dragon Age Origins came out? Or maybe you're a newer fan, still discovering a new tidbit or quest every day.
Well, either way, the Dragon Age Lorecast is the podcast for you. I'm Austin, also known as Teacup.
And I'm Shelby, also known as She-Cup.
And come and join us as we embark on a journey to explore and discover all things Dragon Age.
We'll discuss all kinds of topics, from Lyrium to the Chantry and the great mysteries of the old gods, and even more that even you BioWare superfans might not know about.
So come and listen on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast. And always remember,
swooping